So I kind of joined the space in 2017, first as a core dev in Ethereum Foundation, kind of spent there 2.5 years. Back in the day, everything was it. We had this amazing idea of scaling Ethereum to billions around the world and so on. We kind of encounter some of the technical issues, let's call them like that. Currently, I'm working on a bunch of stuff. So mainly my primary focus on ZK side, research on that and so on, helping on that side where I'm leading Space Shard, which kind of incubated Nimbora, which is this DeFi pooling product. But Nimbora is much, much more than that. It's kind of the whole middleware helps developers abstract L1, L2 messaging, L2, L2 messaging, and so on, trying to unifies this kind of space across L1s, L2s, and makes user experience interacting with this stuff much easier. But the whole kind of point is, okay, we've tackled the scaling dilemma. How do I going to do it? And so on, layer 2s, layer 3s, and so on, fractal scaling. How do we improve UX now and scale it to the masses so they can kind of get to use actually this thing? We can use the same thing. So you have kind of a security layer, which is L1, and then whatever you call it, layer 2s, layer 3s, or whatever. But the main thing, for example, in Celestia or not near or some other X systems is, what's the finality? Where do you finalize this? You have local finality slots and so on, but do you have one settlement layer for all these interoperable worlds? Because let's think about Ethereum, Celestia, and Near. So if users use any of those chains, when they finalize on each other, what's the consensus between those things and so on? It's kind of broken today, bridges are broken and so on. There's a lot of trust assumptions there. So our thesis is that Ethereum will become the settlement layer of all these kind of chains, which we see basically in action. And then you have this L2s, L3s, or whatever the name is, basically building on top and using it as security. So let's start with bridges, basically. Bridges are completely broken because you trust real layers, and there is kind of you have this wrap tokens and so on. It's not really user friendly. And then recently you had wars between multiple parties, which have their own versions of wrap tokens and so on. So it's quite complex on that front. So what we want to do is we say, okay, Ethereum is a source of truth. We know that, that's kind of a thing. And then we say, okay, basically we use Ethereum as a settlement layer. We use this kind of L2s, L3s, or whatever as co-processors of Ethereum where, let's say, you want to stake with Lido. Well, you can do it on layer 1, but it's expensive. So what users basically do, they go to L2, trade this or whatever, but why wouldn't they be able to use L1 DeFi at a fraction of the cost on L2? How do you do that? Well, you aggregate multiple users that want to do the same thing, kind of carpooling, and go to the same direction and basically do it. So there. So in this case, let's say you want to stake ETH with Lido, you have some ETH on L2, whatever that is, you deposit in this kind of vault that Nimbora is, and then we have these batches and relayers and so on that depend on the ZK proofs. So you don't have an inherent trust on us. There is no trust basically there. We just execute, okay, we have 5 to 10 users or 15 users or whatever. We bridge basically their assets to L1, stake with Lido for them, get them wrapped ST back and give it to them at a fraction of the cost. If you have 10 users, it's 1/10 of the cost. It's 15 users, 1/5 of the cost. And some of the things we invented actually, when using it, it can reduce it even more. So what we are aiming for on user side is gas experience down the road. You won't be charged gas cost and so on. You'll be charged your future yield. It's kind of an earn program, Web2, but with the rails of Web3. So currently, we're building this rails, interoperability, abstracting all these infrastructure parts and so on, because we ultimately want to make this a marketplace or a platform where other strategists can build advanced strategies, build on top of this, so kind of Legos. Have L1 kind of strategy, then you build on top of L2 and so on. So you can kind of do all these things, and for the user, it's one click. Currently, we have multiple layers. Obviously, the first layer is roll-ups, infrastructure providers, bridges, and so on. And basically what we do is we aggregate multiple of those, bridges and so on, how they work, what is the trust assumptions, delays and so on. We abstract that and then basically build strategies on top of that. One of the first partners we integrated already is Liquidity. So now you are able to borrow with ETH from starting in one click LUSD from a Tron mate. It's not really omni-chain because still there is no L2 to L2 communication. We can go into that. There is a lot of potential problems and solutions. We believe hybrid solutions book combinations of restaking plus storage pools will be the solution long term. But it's quite a complex problem currently, and we are tackling it and so on. But what we are focusing on, let's execute first L1, L2 communication, let's scale to all these L2s, and then we'll make them interoperable L2 to L2s. Yeah, it's kind of you aggregating user intents. They want to stake with Lido, and they basically say that in okay, click this, join this vault. That's only staking with Lido. That's a low risk strategy. And then you have a medium risk strategy, maybe where you bring this like rapid ST back and LP into some decks on I don't know, Starknet or ZK or whatever, and then basically that's the second like mid-tier like risk, and then you have third tiers, which is kind of high risk, which is kind of like even more composable in this. But the whole idea, you don't have to expose the user to these complexities. All they need to see is, okay, this is the risk I'm taking, this is the APR I'm getting. Mm-hmm. That's what they want, like how much risk I take for how much basically returns. So we have like 3 vertical integrations. Like we have L2 borrowing, which enables like borrowing from L1 directly on L2 in this batches and so on. Then the second tier is basically staking, LSDs and those kind of restaking and so on, where you can participate in these like systems and like receive rewards obviously for them. And third is general kind of yield one like here and so on, where you have like wallets on one chains that we aggregate together. And then when you think about it, what is the next step? Like some of the games like pull together, and those kind of like not pull together per se, but like one of their like L2 kind of resemblance ask us, can they use this yield in their games and so on? So that this is slowly moving towards those kind of things. Okay, others just want to use this. They don't want to think about all this infra stuff and so on. They want to build application layer for the user. We abstract basically this interoperability for them. So currently we build this like alpha version of it. We can borrow liquidity. We'll have like this new partners coming in these vertical integrations next couple of months. And then we plan to end of Q1 to go to the production in this kind of sense. And then advanced strategy, basically on the community side, we'll have this incentive program for strategists to build a top of it, where they have a profit share and so on. So all those things, and then obviously integrations in the app and so on. So what we are going to do is basically focus on Starknet now, then expand to other L2, so we can kind of deploy there, get user intents and so on. And then when we conquer that, basically we'll focus on this L2 to L2 interoperability. You imagine this world, you're on any chain with any wallet, you can just connect to that and it works. That's the whole idea. That's how blockchain should work, and not selling to our mothers or whatever. Yeah, this is the best tech or whatever. No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, currently it's like it's closed beta basically. So like we are trying to test with some of the friends and family and strategies we worked in the past and so on, because like we're in DeFi space from DeFi Summer, obviously. So we are working on them on aggregating his L1, L2 strategies, whether it's feasible or not. So what we'll also offer is, okay, this makes sense. Guys, do you want to build it? And then that way basically we'll make it even simpler for strategies to kick off these kind of things. So like, let us know basically on Nimbora, on app.nimbora on IO, you can test it. And you can reach me on Twitter and so to discuss all these things.